In a world filled with noise and constant sharing, there's something profoundly powerful about silence. Silent work, like the quiet growth of a seed beneath the soil, allows God's plans to unfold without interruption. When we look to the Bible, we see how some of the greatest moments of transformation happened not with fanfare, but in solitude and stillness. From the quiet preparation of Jesus before his ministry to the discreet rebuilding of Jerusalem's walls by Nehemiah, God often works most effectively in the hidden spaces of our lives. Yet today, the urge to share every thought, plan, or achievement tempts us away from this sacred rhythm. We announce our goals too soon, seeking validation from the world rather than relying on the strength and purpose that comes from God alone. But what if we embraced silence? What if instead of broadcasting our every move, we allowed our actions to speak and our results to glorify Him? In this video, we'll explore why keeping your plans private isn't about secrecy. It's about strategy, faith, and trust in God's timing. Stay with us to discover how silence, when guided by Him, becomes a path to clarity, focus, and success. Subscribe for more insights grounded in faith. The beauty of silence in God's plan. Silence has always been a profound part of God's work. From the very beginning, creation itself unfolded in quiet power. In Genesis 1, God spoke light, life, and order into existence, but the process was not marked by chaos or noise. The heavens, the earth, and all their wonders emerged with divine precision, showcasing the beauty of His quiet yet transformative work. This silence speaks of God's sovereignty, reminding us that the most remarkable changes often occur without fanfare. The Bible repeatedly emphasizes the value of silence in fostering a deeper connection with God. Psalm 46:10 declares, "Be still, and know that I am God." This call to stillness invites us to pause, reflect, and recognize His presence. In the silence, we tune out the distractions of the world and focus on His voice, allowing Him to guide and strengthen us. Silence is not emptiness. It is a sacred space where we align our hearts with His will and prepare for the purpose He has set before us. Silence also protects what God has entrusted to us. Divine visions are delicate in their early stages, much like a seed planted in fertile soil. Sharing these dreams prematurely can expose them to criticism, misunderstanding, or even envy, which can weaken our resolve. The Bible illustrates this through the story of Mary, the mother of Jesus. When the angel revealed God's plan for her to bear the Savior, Mary didn't rush to share the news with others. Instead, Luke 2:19 tells us, "Mary treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart." Her quiet reflection allowed God's plan to unfold without interference, demonstrating the wisdom of holding sacred truths close. In our own lives, silence fosters spiritual growth and shields us from worldly distractions. When we resist the urge to announce every step of our journey, we give God the room to work in and through us. It is in the quiet that He strengthens our faith, refines our character, and prepares us for the calling ahead. Just as God's creation unfolded in stillness, so too can His transformative power shape our lives when we embrace silence. By aligning with the biblical principle of quiet preparation, we protect the visions God has placed in our hearts, allowing His purpose to flourish in His perfect timing. Through silence, we deepen our connection with Him and create space for His glory to be revealed. Guarding your God-given dreams. God places dreams in our hearts, not for the world to understand immediately, but for us to nurture with faith and obedience. These dreams are divine seeds, entrusted to us with the responsibility to protect and grow them. Sharing them too soon, however, can expose these sacred visions to criticism, envy, and misunderstanding, potentially derailing what God has carefully set in motion. Consider the story of Joseph in Genesis 37:5-11. As a young man, Joseph received dreams from God that foretold his rise to greatness. In his youthful excitement, he eagerly shared these visions with his brothers. Rather than celebrating Joseph's calling, they were consumed by envy and hatred, leading them to sell him into slavery. Though God ultimately fulfilled Joseph's destiny, his journey was fraught with suffering that stemmed in part from sharing his dreams prematurely. Joseph's story teaches us that not everyone is ready or willing to understand or support the vision God has given us. Similarly, Nehemiah's story highlights the power of discretion. When God placed the vision of rebuilding Jerusalem's walls in Nehemiah's heart, he did not rush to broadcast his plans. Instead, Nehemiah 2:12 tells us, "I had not told anyone what my God had put in my heart to do for Jerusalem." Nehemiah moved quietly, praying and assessing the work before taking action. This strategic silence protected his mission from unnecessary opposition and allowed him to carry out God's plan effectively. Sharing your dreams too soon can invite criticism that shakes your confidence. Even well-meaning individuals may question your abilities, motivations, or the feasibility of your plans. These doubts, once spoken, can take root in your heart and hinder your resolve. Worse still, sharing openly can attract envy from those who, instead of encouraging you, seek to diminish your vision. Envy, as seen in Joseph's brothers, can lead others to act against your best interests, intentionally or unintentionally. Misunderstanding is another danger of premature sharing. Dreams and visions from God often seem incomprehensible to others because they are not meant for everyone to grasp. When we seek validation from people who lack the spiritual insight to understand God's plan, we risk diluting or even abandoning our calling to fit human expectations. Guarding your dreams is not about mistrust or secrecy. It's about wisdom. When you protect what God has entrusted to you, you create space for Him to work without interference. This doesn't mean isolating yourself entirely, but being selective about who you share your plans with. Seek guidance from individuals rooted in faith, who will nurture your vision rather than undermine it. Above all, trust God to unfold His plan in His perfect timing. Your dreams are sacred. Like Joseph and Nehemiah, resist the urge to announce them prematurely. Instead, cherish them in prayer, allowing God to shape and prepare you for the fulfillment of His purpose. When the time comes, the fruit of your obedience will speak louder than any words ever could. Avoiding the trap of talking too much. In our excitement to share new plans or dreams, we often fall into the trap of talking too much. While sharing can feel satisfying, it can also drain the energy and focus needed to turn ideas into reality. Premature announcements may offer momentary applause, but they risk robbing us of the quiet strength and momentum required to follow through. The Bible warns against the dangers of excessive talking. Proverbs 14:23 teaches, "All hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty." This wisdom reminds us that action, not words, is what brings fruit. When we share our plans prematurely, we often trick our minds into feeling as though progress has already been made. Words can create an illusion of success, leaving us less motivated to act. Imagine a runner who stops to celebrate halfway through the race. The applause might feel rewarding, but it also disrupts their focus and slows their stride. Momentum thrives in silence. Like a fire that burns brightest when undisturbed, your energy to pursue a goal is most potent when it is protected from distractions. The moment you start explaining every detail to others, you invite their opinions, doubts, and even well-meaning advice, which can pull you in conflicting directions. Instead of channeling your energy into purposeful action, you risk dissipating it by trying to justify or defend your plans. Focusing on action rather than words reflects Christian humility. As C.S. Lewis wrote, "Humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less." True humility shifts the focus away from seeking validation or recognition and places it on fulfilling God's will. Jesus exemplified this throughout his ministry. Rather than explaining his every move, he often acted quietly and let his works speak for themselves. In Luke 5:16, we see Jesus withdrawing to pray, seeking the Father's guidance rather than public approval. Practical wisdom also teaches us that silence is a strength. A builder doesn't stop to announce every brick laid. They stay focused until the structure is complete. Similarly, when you keep your plans between yourself and God, you preserve the energy to act decisively. By doing so, you honor the work He has called you to and create space for His guidance. Choose action over words, humility over recognition, and trust that God will bless your quiet efforts in His perfect timing. Let your progress, not your proclamations, tell your story. Letting your actions speak for God's glory. True greatness doesn't need to be announced. It reveals itself through consistent, faith-driven action. When our efforts are rooted in God's will, the results speak for themselves, bringing glory to Him far beyond what words could achieve. Jesus' ministry offers the ultimate example of this principle, showing us how actions rooted in faith leave a lasting impact. Throughout His time on earth, Jesus demonstrated the power of letting results testify to God's work. In John 10:25, He said, "The works I do in my Father's name testify about me." Rather than relying on lengthy explanations or declarations, Jesus let His miracles, teachings, and acts of compassion reflect His divine mission. Whether healing the sick, feeding the multitudes, or calming the storm, His actions pointed unmistakably to the Father's glory. These deeds didn't just inspire those who witnessed them, they have endured for generations, continuing to shape hearts and minds. Consider the feeding of the 5,000 in Matthew 14:13-21. Jesus didn't gather the crowd to boast about what He would do. Instead, He quietly blessed the loaves and fish, performing a miracle that spoke volumes about God's provision. The impact of that moment wasn't in the words spoken, but in the tangible evidence of God's power and care. His actions glorified God in a way that no speech could. Actions rooted in faith have a lasting impact because they reflect God's work, not human effort. When we focus on fulfilling the tasks God has called us to, we align ourselves with His purpose, allowing His power to shine through. Words, no matter how well-intentioned, are fleeting and often forgotten. Results, however, linger as a testament to God's faithfulness and our obedience. Premature announcements, by contrast, often draw attention to ourselves rather than to God. When we share our plans before they've been realized, we risk seeking validation for our ambitions instead of focusing on the higher purpose behind them. This can shift the focus away from glorifying God and towards satisfying our own need for approval. But when we let our actions do the talking, the glory naturally goes to Him, because the results are unmistakably beyond our human capability. Jesus consistently modeled this approach. He performed His works not for applause, but to fulfill the Father's will. His humility and quiet strength remind us that success isn't about recognition. It's about obedience and faithfulness. In Mark 1:35-39, after retreating to a solitary place to pray, Jesus moved forward with purpose, letting His ministry unfold according to God's plan, not human expectations. By letting your actions speak, you free yourself from the pressure of constant explanation and justification. Focus instead on honoring God with your work. When the results come, they will testify not only to your diligence, but also to God's providence and grace. In the end, it is not our words but our faithful actions that glorify Him and leave a legacy that truly matters. The wisdom of quiet focus. Quiet focus is a powerful spiritual discipline that nurtures success by creating space for clarity, preparation, and alignment with God's will. In a world that often rewards noise and busyness, the example of Jesus reminds us that true effectiveness comes from intentional solitude and unwavering focus. Throughout His ministry, Jesus frequently retreated to quiet places to pray and prepare for the work ahead. In Luke 5:16, we read that Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. These moments of solitude were not interruptions to His mission, they were integral to it. By stepping away from the crowds and distractions, Jesus centered Himself in the Father's will, ensuring that His actions flowed from divine guidance rather than human expectation. His ministry was marked by this rhythm of quiet preparation, followed by purposeful action. Quiet focus allows believers to align their actions with God's will. In the stillness, we are free from the noise of opinions, doubts, and distractions that can cloud our judgment. This sacred solitude provides an opportunity to reflect, listen, and seek God's direction. It is in these moments that we gain the strength and clarity needed to move forward with confidence and purpose. Consider an archer drawing a bow. The archer doesn't rush or announce their every move. They focus intently on the target, adjusting their aim with precision. This deliberate quietness is what ensures the arrow hits its mark. Similarly, when we embrace quiet focus, we can channel our energy into meaningful work, avoiding the scatter of distractions that often accompany public declarations or excessive explanations. Solitude also gives us the freedom to grow without the weight of external expectations. When we share our plans prematurely, we often invite unnecessary scrutiny or pressure to perform. Quiet focus, however, allows us to fail, learn, and refine in private, trusting God to shape our efforts. Like Jesus, who prepared in solitude before each major step in His ministry, we can approach our work with humility and intentionality, knowing that God is guiding every action. Success born of quiet focus is deeply rooted in faith and perseverance. It requires resisting the urge to seek immediate validation and instead trusting that God's timing and purpose will bring forth results. In the quiet, we find not only the strength to succeed, but the wisdom to glorify God through every step of the journey. Trusting God in the quiet. Silence is not a sign of inaction. It is often where God does his greatest work. By guarding your dreams, avoiding premature declarations, focusing on action, and embracing quiet preparation, you create space for God to guide and bless your efforts. Remember, his timing is perfect, and his plans are far greater than we can imagine. Trust in him, work faithfully, and let the results glorify his name. If this message inspired you, subscribe to our channel for more faith-driven insights. Together, let's walk boldly in God's purpose, finding strength in the quiet. God bless you.